Fear is a natural part of every person's life. It can appear at any moment, when we face new challenges, when confronting the unknown, or when we need to change something in our lives. Fear is an unavoidable feeling, but sometimes it becomes an invisible wall, preventing us from walking the path of happiness and freedom. Have you ever felt that fear is controlling your life? When worries about the future, fear of failure, or fear of loss make you feel powerless and unable to take control of yourself? Sometimes, that fear is not just a feeling in the heart, it feels like a shadow that always follows us, obscuring our hopes and dreams, and causing us to lose our inherent confidence. But you know, fear is not something to run away from or avoid. Fear is actually a message, a lesson that life sends us. If we understand and accept that fear, we will realize that it is an opportunity for growth, learning, and finding true peace. In those moments of facing fear, we can discover strengths and wisdom within ourselves that we had never recognized. So how can we overcome fear and live more freely and peacefully? This is a question that Buddhism offers us valuable answers. The teachings of the Buddha are not just profound words, but practical methods that help us confront fear with mindfulness and tranquility. It is when we learn to live in the present, let go of anxieties about the future, and embody compassion, not just for others but also for ourselves. We don't need to completely eliminate fear, but we can learn how to face and transform it into a positive driving force. Remember that fear is only a small part of this vast life. If we understand that everything in life is impermanent, that difficulties and challenges are temporary, we will feel lighter and freer when confronting them. Let us embark on a journey to understand how to overcome fear through Buddhist wisdom, so that we can live a peaceful, free, and fulfilling life. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share with friends, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss valuable lessons from Buddhism. Together, let's create a community of mindfulness and happiness. Part 1. Perspectives on Fear according to the teachings of the Buddha. Fear is a common psychological state that exists within every human being. It can arise from worries about the future, loss, or the unknown. According to the Buddha, fear is not an enemy to be completely eradicated but a natural part of the mind that can be recognized and transcended through wisdom and practice. His teachings help us understand the origins of fear, its significance in life, and how to transform it for a more peaceful existence. Fear and the nature of reality according to the Buddha. In Buddhist philosophy, fear often originates from ignorance, avidya, which is the failure to perceive reality as it truly is. The Buddha teaches that life operates according to three fundamental characteristics of reality, known as the three marks of existence. 1. Impermanence, anicca, everything changes, nothing lasts forever. 2. Suffering, dukkha, life is filled with pain and dissatisfaction. 3. Non-self, anatta, there is no fixed self or ego within all things. When we fail to recognize the truth of impermanence, we tend to cling to fragile and transient things, such as wealth, fame, relationships, or health. This attachment creates fear of loss and insecurity. For example, a person may fear losing a loved one. This fear arises from clinging to the idea that a loved one will always be by their side, without realizing that all things are impermanent and subject to change. By understanding the nature of impermanence, that person can accept change as a natural part of life, thereby reducing fear. The psychological origins of fear according to Buddhism. The Buddha noted that fear does not exist independently, it is a product of the mind bound by illusions and desires. Three main factors contribute to the emergence of fear. 1. Ignorance, avidya, lack of understanding about the nature of reality, leading to unrealistic expectations and anxieties. 2. Craving, tanha, desire and attachment to things that provide a sense of security, such as possessions, relationships, or power. 3. Aversion, dosa, negative reactions to unwanted experiences, filling the mind with insecurity. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a vast sky, and fear is like passing clouds. Without practice, we easily identify with these clouds and forget the inherent purity of the mind. Fear and its significance in life. In Buddhism, fear is not viewed as something inherently bad or something to be entirely eliminated. Rather, the Buddha teaches that fear can be a valuable lesson, helping us recognize aspects of ourselves that remain unclear. For instance, when we feel fear in the face of change, we are invited to reflect, why are we afraid? What makes us feel loss? Through this self-inquiry, we can develop greater wisdom and deeper awareness about ourselves and the world around us. Fear can also serve as a warning signal, reminding us of things we need to pay attention to in life. However, if not managed, fear can become a burden that hinders spiritual growth and happiness. Methods to recognize and face fear according to Buddhism. One of the important teachings of the Buddha is to recognize fear rather than avoid it. This does not mean immersing ourselves in fear, but rather observing it with mindfulness and non-judgment. 1. Observe the fear. When feeling afraid, pause and ask yourself, oh, where does this fear come from? Oh, is it a real threat, or merely a product of the mind? 2. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness, sati, is a powerful tool that helps us live in the present and not get swept away by future anxieties. For instance, when feeling fear, focus on your breath. Inhale, recognizing that you are breathing in. Exhale, recognizing that you are breathing out. 3. Accept impermanence. Understand that all fears are temporary and will pass. No emotion, no matter how intense, can last forever. Lessons from the life of the Buddha on overcoming fear. The life of the Buddha serves as a vivid testament to facing and overcoming fear. As Prince Siddhartha, he left the palace, renouncing all safety and comfort to embark on a journey seeking the truth. During his years of practice, he faced profound fears, fear of failure, fear of loneliness, and fear of death. However, instead of running away, the Buddha confronted these fears directly, using wisdom and awareness to understand their nature. As a result, he achieved enlightenment, transcending all fear and suffering. Fear as an opportunity for wisdom development. The Buddha teaches that fear can become an opportunity for wisdom development if we know how to face it. Some emphasized methods in Buddhist teachings include meditation. Meditation helps calm the mind, allowing us to observe fear objectively and not let it control us. Compassion. When we cultivate compassion for ourselves and others, fear gradually dissipates. Letting go. Letting go does not mean abandoning everything but rather releasing attachment and unrealistic expectations. The Buddha's perspective on fear goes beyond mere recognition. It invites us to use wisdom to understand its nature and origin. When we realize that fear is merely a product of the mind, we can use it as a tool for personal growth. By practicing mindfulness, accepting impermanence, and living with compassion, each of us can overcome fear and find true peace and freedom. Fear need not be an enemy, it can become a teacher, guiding us toward a more meaningful and happy life. Part 2. The causes of fear according to Buddhist teachings. Fear is a psychological state arising from deep-seated factors in the human mind. According to Buddhist teachings, all emotions, including fear, do not occur randomly but always have clear causes. The Buddha taught that fear arises from ignorance, attachment, and a lack of awareness of the present moment. Understanding these causes is the first step toward transforming fear and attaining peace. Ignorance, lack of understanding. Ignorance, avidya, is one of the three poisons of the mind, along with attachment, lobha, and aversion, dosa. The Buddha pointed out that ignorance is the root of all suffering, including fear. The nature of ignorance is not just a lack of common knowledge but an incorrect perception of the nature of reality. According to Buddhist teachings, reality is defined by three main characteristics: impermanence, anicca, suffering, dukkha, and non-self, anatta. When we fail to understand these characteristics, we often fall into anxiety and fear. For example, we fear loss because we believe that what we possess is permanent or belongs to us. When ignorance clouds the mind, we cannot see that everything is temporary, and change is inevitable. Ignorance and fear manifest in various ways, such as fear of death, where ignorance leads us to cling to material life and fear the thought of termination. However, according to Buddhism, death is just a stage in the cycle of existence, and this fear stems from a lack of understanding of the nature of life. We also fear the unknown, worrying about the future because we cannot control what will happen. But when we realize that everything operates according to causation and the law of karma, this anxiety can be alleviated. The Buddha taught that when wisdom, prajna, replaces ignorance, we will see that there is nothing to fear if we understand reality. Attachment, tanha. Attachment, tanha, is one of the main causes of fear. According to Buddhist teachings, attachment is the craving to possess and maintain what we believe brings happiness. The nature of attachment leads people to cling to possessions, fame, relationships, or even their own bodies. When we place our happiness in these things, we easily fall into a state of anxiety about losing them. This attachment is not only the desire to possess but also the fear of losing what we already have. Fear of loss can arise if you are too attached to possessions, leading to constant worry about them being stolen or destroyed. Fear of failure emerges when we identify ourselves with fame or success, making failure a significant fear as it threatens our self-worth. Fear of losing relationships occurs when we depend too much on others for safety and love, leading to anxiety and jealousy. The Buddha taught that to reduce attachment and fear, we need to practice letting go. Letting go does not mean abandoning everything but rather relinquishing clinging and unrealistic expectations. When we let go, we feel lighter and minimize anxiety. The mind stuck in the past and future. Another deep-seated cause of fear is a lack of mindfulness in the present. When the mind is stuck in the past or the future, we cannot fully live in the present moment, where fear cannot exist. Being stuck in the past often involves painful memories, failures, or regrets that make us fear the recurrence of similar events. For example, someone who has been betrayed in love may fear starting a new relationship because they worry they will be hurt again. Anxiety about the future often involves the mind creating worst-case scenarios that may never occur. Worrying about health, finances, or career is common when the mind is pulled into the future. For example, a person anxious about losing their job may become fearful even when there are no specific signs that it will happen. Mindfulness is the remedy for a mind stuck in the past and future. The Buddha taught that only the present truly exists. The past is gone, the future has not yet arrived, and all fear exists only when the mind is pulled away from the present. Mindfulness is a way to bring the mind back to the present moment. When we focus on the present, we can alleviate worries about what cannot be controlled. Fear is not a random emotion, it has deep-seated causes stemming from ignorance, attachment, and a lack of mindfulness. The Buddha taught that when we understand these causes, we can use wisdom and mindfulness to recognize and transform them. By practicing letting go, living mindfully, and developing wisdom, each of us can overcome fear and live a life of freedom and peace. Remember, fear is not an enemy but an opportunity to understand ourselves better and develop spiritually. Part 3. The impact of fear in life, especially on mental well-being. Fear is a powerful emotion that can profoundly affect both the body and mind. According to the Buddha, fear is like a shadow that obscures the mind, preventing us from seeing reality and the true values of life. If not identified and transformed, fear can harm physical health and cause deep emotional wounds. 1. Fear and its impact on mental well-being. Fear undermines self-confidence and decision-making ability. It causes the mind to become unstable, leading to self-doubt and a reduced capacity for sound decision-making. When dominated by fear, individuals often lose trust in their abilities, causing them to avoid challenges or opportunities. For example, someone afraid of failure might shy away from pursuing their dreams or refuse opportunities simply due to the fear of not succeeding. This fear weakens their spirit and hinders personal growth. In Buddhist teachings, the Buddha encourages us to see fear as a lesson rather than letting it control us. He teaches that true confidence comes not from eliminating fear but from learning to accept and transcend it with wisdom. Fear creates stress, anxiety, and can sometimes lead to depression. Persistent fear generates negative thoughts, trapping the mind in a cycle of worry. When uncontrolled, it leads to prolonged stress, increasing the risk of mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression. According to the Buddha, emotions like fear, anxiety, and sadness arise from an unawakened mind. When we allow our minds to drift into unrealistic worries about the future or obsess over the past, we become fatigued and easily fall into a state of depression. Buddhism emphasizes that mindfulness and meditation are important tools to calm the mind and alleviate anxiety. By focusing on the present, our breath, and the ordinary moments of life, we can gradually free our minds from the negative scenarios created by fear. Fear acts as an invisible barrier that prevents us from moving forward and living a meaningful life. It leads people to procrastinate, evade, and even abandon important goals simply because they are afraid to face the unknown. The Buddha teaches that to live fully means confronting all aspects of life, both joy and fear. When the mind is bound by fear, we cannot enjoy the present moment, living instead in worry about the future or regret over the past. For instance, a talented person who fears judgment may never dare to showcase their abilities publicly. As a result, they miss opportunities for growth and leave behind unnecessary regrets. The Buddha emphasizes that true courage is not the absence of fear but the ability to act in spite of it. 2. A mind clouded by fear, the obscured mirror of reality. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a mirror. When it is clean and clear, it reflects reality accurately. However, when clouded by fear, the mind becomes obscured, preventing us from perceiving ourselves and the world around us correctly. When influenced by fear, we tend to exaggerate dangers or create negative scenarios that are not real. This leads to misunderstandings and actions based on false assumptions rather than reality. For example, a person fearful of career failure may mistakenly believe they lack the ability to succeed, despite having all the skills necessary. The Buddha teaches that to clear the mind and awaken, we need to practice meditation and mindfulness. These methods help eliminate negative thoughts, allowing us to return to a clearer reality. 3. Fear and its relationship to physical health. While the focus of Buddhism is on spiritual life, the Buddha also recognized the connection between the mind and body. Prolonged fear not only affects mental health but also leads to serious physical health issues. Chronic stress: when the mind is pressured by fear, the body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, over extended periods, leading to cardiovascular problems, high blood pressure, and immune system issues. Sleep disturbances: fear disrupts sleep, preventing the body from getting adequate rest, which reduces effectiveness in daily life. Muscle pain: negative emotions like fear can cause muscle tension and prolonged pain. The Buddha teaches that through meditation and deep breathing exercises, we can calm not only the mind but also the body. When the mind is at peace, the body experiences relaxation and balance. 4. Solutions from Buddhist teachings to mitigate the effects of fear. The Buddha not only highlights the harms of fear but also provides practical methods to minimize its impact in life. Mindfulness: living in the present is the best way to escape the cycle of worry about the past and future. Compassion and letting go: when we cultivate compassion and learn to let go of attachments, fear naturally diminishes. Meditation: meditation helps silence and clarify the mind, eliminating negative thoughts. Fear is an unavoidable part of life, but it does not have to be a burden. Through wisdom and Buddhist methods, we can identify, manage, and transform fear into an opportunity for spiritual growth. When the mind is freed from the shadows of fear, we see life become clearer and more meaningful, enabling us to live fully in each present moment. Part 4: Buddhist wisdom to overcome fear. Fear is a natural part of life, but if not recognized and managed, it can become a barrier preventing us from living fully and peacefully. Buddhist wisdom not only helps us understand the nature of fear but also provides practical methods to confront and overcome it. By practicing principles such as recognition, mindfulness, letting go, and compassion, we can find true peace within. 1. Recognizing and accepting fear. Observing fear objectively, according to the Buddha, the first step to overcoming fear is to acknowledge and recognize it. Fear should not be avoided or hidden, rather, it is an opportunity for us to learn more about ourselves. When facing fear, observe it objectively, like an outsider rather than identifying with it. For example, when you feel anxious about a situation, ask yourself, where does this fear come from? Is what I fear actually going to happen? If it does happen, what are the real consequences? The Buddha taught that when we recognize fear, we are no longer controlled by it. Instead of allowing fear to cloud our minds, we should look directly at it and realize that, like all emotions, fear is temporary. Accepting fear as a part of life, acceptance does not mean letting fear control you, it means understanding that it is a natural part of the human mind. By accepting the existence of fear, you will feel lighter, as resistance often increases pressure. The Buddha taught that emotions are like clouds in the sky. Let them come and go, but do not forget that the blue sky is always there. 2. Practicing mindfulness to overcome fear. Mindfulness, sati, is one of the most important principles of Buddhist teaching. Practicing mindfulness helps us live in the present, where fear cannot exist. Focusing on the present, fear often arises when the mind drifts into the past or future. We worry about things that have not yet happened or suffer from what has already occurred. Mindfulness helps pull the mind back to the present, where everything is actually happening. A simple way to practice mindfulness is to focus on your breath. Inhale, recognizing that you are breathing in. Exhale, recognizing that you are breathing out. Each time your mind gets caught up in worries, return to your breath. This not only calms the mind but also helps you realize that the present is all you truly have. Observing emotions mindfully, instead of trying to push fear away, observe it with curiosity and acceptance. Notice how fear affects your body, rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, or muscle tension. Observe these manifestations without judgment or reaction. The Buddha taught that mindfulness and objective observation help us separate ourselves from fear, thereby reducing its impact. 3. Letting go of attachment to liberate the mind. The nature of attachment, according to the Buddha, one of the main causes of fear is attachment, tanha, the desire and clinging to things we believe are necessary for happiness. We cling to possessions, fame, relationships, and even our self-image. This attachment creates the fear of loss, as we worry that we cannot live without these things. Practicing letting go does not mean abandoning everything but rather releasing clinging and the illusion that external things can bring lasting happiness. For example, when you cling to success, failure becomes a significant fear. However, when you let go of attachment to outcomes, you will feel freer in your actions. You do what you need to do without the pressure of expectations. The Buddha taught that nothing belongs to you. Let go of everything, and you will find peace. Letting go frees the mind from unnecessary worries, creating space for peace and happiness. 4. Practicing loving-kindness to overcome fear. Loving-kindness and the transformation of the mind, loving-kindness, metta, is unconditional love, not only for others but also for ourselves. When we live with loving-kindness, our minds open up, leaving no room for negative emotions like fear, jealousy, or anger. The impact of loving-kindness on fear. Reducing self-focus. Fear often arises when we become too focused on ourselves, worrying about what we might lose. When practicing loving-kindness, you shift your attention to helping and loving others, thereby soothing your own fears. Nurturing a sense of safety. Love creates a sense of connection and safety, helping you feel protected in all situations. How to practice loving-kindness. A common method is loving-kindness meditation, metta bhavana. Start with yourself. Say to yourself, may I be peaceful, happy, and free from fear. Extend to loved ones, may, loved one, be peaceful and happy. Continue to expand this wish to all beings, including those you do not know. Loving-kindness meditation not only calms the mind but also helps you develop a deep connection with the world around you. Buddhist wisdom is a guiding light that helps us overcome the darkness of fear. By recognizing and accepting fear, practicing mindfulness, letting go of attachment, and living with loving kindness, we can transform fear into an opportunity for growth and spiritual development. Start today with small actions like observing your breath, letting go of unnecessary worries, and spreading love. You will find that fear is no longer an enemy but a teacher guiding you to live a life of freedom and peace. Part 5: Achievements in Overcoming Fear Through Buddhist Wisdom. Fear is an emotion that can paralyze the mind and hinder human life. However, if we learn to face and overcome it using Buddhist wisdom, fear will no longer be a burden but a stepping stone to achieving peace, courage, and true freedom. When fear is removed, life becomes lighter, more serene, and full of meaning. Finding peace of mind. When fear no longer dominates, the mind becomes more tranquil and clear. The Buddha taught that peace does not come from controlling everything around us but from freeing ourselves from useless worries and living fully in the present. Peace is a state of mind when we are no longer haunted by what might happen or what has passed. When we let go of fear, the mind no longer spirals into anxiety or unrest. A sense of lightness and serenity begins to emerge, like a calm lake reflecting the clarity of the sky. Peace in relationships. Fear not only affects individuals but also impacts how we interact with others. When we overcome fear, we can build relationships based on trust and sincerity rather than defensiveness or suspicion. Love and understanding replace negative emotions, making relationships more harmonious and profound. Methods to achieve peace. Practice mindfulness, focus on the present to escape worries about the future. Meditation helps calm the mind and reduce stress caused by fear. Letting go of attachments. When you no longer cling to things you cannot control, you will truly feel peace. Developing courage to face challenges. Fear makes us avoid and flee from life's challenges. But when we overcome fear, we develop the courage to confront any situation, no matter how difficult. The Buddha taught that courage is not the absence of fear but the ability to act despite its presence. For example, a person who once feared failure will have the courage to try new things and embrace opportunities when they no longer allow fear to control them. They understand that failure is just part of the journey, not the end. Courage to change oneself. One of the strongest manifestations of courage is the ability to look within, recognize bad habits, and change to become better. The Buddha said that changing oneself is the most challenging yet the most courageous act. When fear no longer hinders us, we will dare to acknowledge our mistakes, learn from them, and move forward with confidence. Courage to be true to oneself. Fear often compels us to live according to others' expectations rather than being true to ourselves. When we overcome this fear, we can express ourselves sincerely and freely, no longer bound by others' judgments or expectations. Living freely and fully freedom from the bonds of fear. When fear no longer controls us, we will experience true freedom. Fear is like an invisible cord that binds the mind, preventing us from enjoying life. When this cord is cut, the mind opens up, allowing us to experience life more fully and meaningfully. Living freely does not mean avoiding difficulties but having the ability to confront them without feeling weighed down. Freedom is knowing that everything is impermanent, and nothing in life can bind our souls. Enjoying every moment. When we overcome fear, we realize that happiness does not lie in grand things but in the simple moments of life. A simple meal, a peaceful morning, or a conversation with a loved one can bring deep joy. Pursuing meaningful goals. Fear often leads us to procrastinate or abandon important goals. But when fear is no longer a barrier, we can pursue what truly matters with full focus and passion. For example, a person who once feared rejection may boldly chase their dreams, understanding that failure is merely part of the learning and growing process. Spiritual benefits of overcoming fear: a clearer mind. When fear no longer clouds the mind, we can perceive things more clearly and accurately. This helps us make wise decisions aligned with our core values. Developing wisdom and compassion. Fear often causes us to withdraw and focus solely on ourselves. But when we overcome fear, we can expand our minds, develop wisdom and compassion, and be ready to help others without fearing harm. Practices to achieve these accomplishments. Meditation. Daily meditation practice helps calm the mind and eliminate negative thoughts. Mindfulness practice. Pay attention to each moment in life and enjoy it fully. Letting go of attachments. Release clinging to unnecessary things to free the mind. Practicing compassion. Cultivate love and connection with others, thereby reducing unnecessary worries. When we overcome fear through Buddhist wisdom, we find peace, courage, and true freedom. Life becomes lighter, the mind clearer, and we can enjoy every moment fully. Start this journey today, and you will see that fear is no longer an enemy but a teacher helping you live a meaningful and happy life. Conclusion: overcoming fear to live in peace and freedom. Fear is not an enemy to be destroyed but a natural part of the human mind. The Buddha teaches that fear, when recognized and understood correctly, can become a valuable teacher. It is this fear that presents an opportunity for us to gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, explore unseen aspects, and grow from within. Through Buddhist wisdom, fear no longer needs to be a source of worry or obsession. When you apply principles such as recognition, mindfulness, letting go, and compassion, you will realize that fear is merely a fleeting emotion without the real power to bind your mind. Learning to recognize and accept fear. Recognizing fear is not about identifying with it but observing it objectively. Instead of letting fear control you, ask yourself, where does this fear come from? Is it truly worth worrying about? By doing this, you will gradually understand that fear, like all other emotions, is just a temporary phenomenon. Letting go to find freedom. Fear is often tied to attachment to transient things, such as possessions, fame, or relationships. The Buddha teaches that everything in life is impermanent, and nothing belongs to us forever. When you let go of attachment, your mind will become free, allowing you to experience lightness and tranquility in every moment. Peace from mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us live in the present, where fear cannot exist. By focusing on your breath, listening to the sounds around you, or feeling each step you take, you will find that worries about the past or future fade away. The present is all we truly have, and it is in this present that you will discover profound peace. Achievements from overcoming fear. When you overcome fear, you not only find peace but also develop the courage to face life's challenges. You will live more freely, unbound by useless worries, and enjoy each moment with complete meaning. Start your journey to overcome fear today. Practice mindfulness, learn to let go, and cultivate compassion. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it with your loved ones, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to not miss meaningful lessons from Buddhism. Thank you for joining us on the path to seeking peace and happiness. Let Buddhist wisdom guide you to live a life that is free, fulfilling, and full of love. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.